On today's show, the latest in the Damian Lillard trade saga. Reportedly, a Eastern Conference mystery team emerging trying to acquire Damian Lillard. Who makes most sense as a mystery team trying to trade for Damian Lillard? And will the Blazers be able to get a deal done before training camp starts? It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Look, I absolutely love DoorDash. I use it all the time. Sometimes you don't want to leave your house, your apartment, whatever. Maybe you don't want to put pants on, so you just open the app, find your favorite restaurant, order your food, comes right to your doorstep, right? It's incredible. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your favorite restaurants. Now you can get your groceries delivered too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll get exactly what you ordered without the fuss, right? You don't have to take a trip to the grocery store, go down all the aisles. It can be frustrating sometimes, right? You can get somebody else to do it for you, get it delivered with DoorDash. You'll get the exact right stuff, substitution options, all of that. And the best part is you can get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to $20 when you use code LOCKEDONNBA at checkout. Limited time offer. Terms do apply. That's 50% off up to $20 with no minimum subtotal and zero delivery fees on your very first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONNBA. Don't forget that's code LOCKEDONNBA for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Blazers, Mike Richman, who you can track down wherever you listen to your podcast and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Blazers. Here to break down the latest in this Damian Lillard trade saga. At this point, I don't even feel like calling it a trade saga, Mike, because it feels like a trade may never materialize for Dame. But most recently,
it's going to materialize here pretty soon.
All right, there we go. Good. Pretty soon, we've got it from our resident expert on all things Blazers. We had Mark Spears recently report that there was a mystery Eastern Conference team creeping up in contention for Damian Lillard's services. So let's start right there. Who makes sense out east as a contender to try and land Damian Lillard instead of the Miami Heat?
Yeah, contender might be doing a little work there, but it's pretty.
No, let me rephrase. A contender for Dame, not a contender in the sense of a championship contender.
Yeah, for sure. It seems pretty clear that the team in the Eastern Conference that is the non-Miami team that's sort of most interested is the Toronto Raptors. Why they might be interested, that is for you, dear listener, to kind of piece together. But they according to Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports and a couple other places who have reported it, like they're interested. Matt Moore right here on this very podcast, right here on Locked On NBA. Like Toronto has kicked the tires. The thing is, Toronto's not going to trade Scotty Barnes. I mean, they could. That'd be great for the Blazers, but that doesn't make sense necessarily. So it would have to be either OG or Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam doesn't make sense as a return for the Blazers. So that's a multi-team swap where Siakam goes to Atlanta or whatever it might be, and that it gets convoluted, or it's some sort of OG Anunoby plus the salary to make it work deal. Has some appeal, but I don't know if it's without the draft picks or maybe you're really into Grady Dick, if it makes perfect sense to what it would be for the Blazers. But I think it's clear they are pursuing non-Miami deals, and Toronto is at least willing to have conversations about what a trade might look like.
So even removing Scotty Barnes from the equation, right? Let's just, for the sake of the argument, we'll say he's untouchable in this regard. As you're stacking up kind of the best possible offer that the Miami Heat could put on the table versus maybe the best possible offer from the Toronto Raptors, which team right now in your eyes has the better deal on the table?
I mean,
they're both poo-poo platters. So, but like, right, which one is the better poo-poo platter?
It's hard to know exactly all of what Toronto would put in there, but it would be something like OG Anunoby, Grady Dick, Christian Koloko. I think it would have to be Gary Trent Jr. to make the money work, just because they don't have other big money contracts that could get you there. That's kind of Tyler Hero North. I think it's Toronto, but they're in a similar boat. They owe a lottery protected pick to San Antonio, so they can't even trade any unencumbered draft picks until 2028 or 2030. So it's not like they've got juicy picks lined up in the next 3 years to trade. They can't get that done. So if you value Grady Dick as a draft pick, then that changes it. The best version of the Heat offer is really good, but there is in this sort of relative sense of bad Dame trades, it's to me, it's the best Heat offer is the best version of the Miami offer is probably the best offer the Blazers could get. Miami's just not going to offer that. They're not going to offer Nikola Jovic and Jaime Jaquez and the 2024 pick and 2028 and 2030 and 2 swaps. Like, they're just not going to do that. Miami's never going to come to the table with that. So it probably right now, knowing what we know, I am a little cloudy on who's offering what exactly. I think Toronto's is a little bit better.
So going with that, and it makes me wonder, right, because we've talked about this before and you've discussed this on your podcast, right? The idea of, Portland doesn't necessarily want Tyler Herro, right? They don't have a spot for him, right? They've got their guards lined up. So more than likely you would reroute Tyler Herro to a third team. When you look at players like, OG Anunoby or Gary Trent Jr., players like that would be involved in a Toronto Dame trade, do those players are they maybe a bit more attractive to reroute to a third team as far as getting more assets back, which could then, again, maybe give Toronto the leg up on an offer for Dame?
OG for sure, because he's like the type of player teams want, and you would be getting his bird rights. He'll be entering free agency next summer. So if some team is like, yeah, we really want to pay OG Anunoby because he's a good two-way forward, although one of the ways he's much better at than the other. It's like, then yeah, I think for me, I think OG Anunoby has a lot more trade value, but maybe I've been Masai pilled because he's been telling me that OG Anunoby is worth 27 draft picks. So there's a chance that Masai Ujiri has poisoned my mind. But yeah, I think that's more valuable. I mean, Tyler Herro is better than Gary Trent Jr. I don't think that's particularly controversial. I think Tyler Herro is pretty good. It's just like that type of player, a not quite point guard who doesn't defend very well, has proven to not be very valuable. If the Heat could get 2 first-round picks for Tyler Herro, 1, they would have traded him 2 years ago. 2, they would have already done this. Like the Dame deal would have been done. So I do think OG gets you more stuff, but it's kind of the market. The market there is murky, and maybe the Blazers just want to keep a big forward on a team that has basically only guards.
And at this point, with this, with the Blazers kind of kicking the tire, or at least I guess Toronto kicking the tires on Dame, I should say, does it maybe feel like the Blazers are at a point where obviously they've been in this stalemate with Miami for so long? At any point, does it feel like there's pressure on Miami to just say, we've got to go all in, we've got to get Dame? Or do you think this is really something that we're going to see just drag into the regular season to where for Miami to feel like they have to put all their chips in, right? Would it have to be, okay, maybe Miami gets off to a slow start this season, they don't look like they have all the right pieces, and maybe one of those like situations where, okay, break the glass, Dame hasn't been traded, that's the all-in move that we can make. Do you kind of get the feeling that that's where we're headed as far as this whole saga is concerned?
No, I get the feeling that Damian Lillard is going to be traded on Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time as we head into the weekend.
Ooh.
That's the feeling I get. I think the Blazers are motivated, and this is some tea leaves. I'm reporting this based on loose understanding of the situation. No one who works for the team has told me this by any means. I think the Blazers do not want to bring Damian Lillard into camp. I think they do not want to bring him into camp. I think they got this far down the road and realized we've got a great exit strategy. Now we're going to be a bad basketball team, but that's kind of the plan anyways. So let's just bail now and see what we can get for Dame, which is why they're truly pursuing the non-Miami offers. There's reporting from Adrian Wojnarowski and Brian Windhorst of ESPN that like Portland and Miami haven't talked. You know why? It's because on Thursday afternoon, they'll be like, yeah, we've known the offer since May. Let's just do it. Unless something gets better. I do not think the Blazers will hold Dame in get like a hostage situation going into I've been saying this since July, and it felt like I was going to be dead wrong, but I'm back, baby. The end of September. I do not think they will hold him into camp. It just doesn't seem like what they want to do. I think they want to resolve this, and I think that's why they're actively pursuing teams like, they're kicking the tires on how can they get DeAndre Ayton in a multi-team trade. They're saying, how can, okay, if the Bulls want to ship out Zach LaVine, can they send Zach LaVine somewhere and we can get involved in those parts if they really want Damian Lillard for God knows what reason. The Blazers are trying to find real suitors, or they're trying to find an offer that if they called Pat Riley and he said, take it, they'd say, actually, we will. something that they can either bargain with, or if Miami calls their bluff, they can actually consummate and get a deal done.
I really like the confidence here on a Dame trade coming to fruition by the end of this week, before media day hits, before training camp, all that. Because the other thing that I was so curious about in this whole situation, right, is this is kind of that gray cloud lingering over the Blazers and trying to resolve this going into the season, especially with the NBA's new changes to the star player resting rules. I was very curious how this might actually adversely impact the Blazers and their ability to develop the young guards that they have, because if you have a star, Damian Lillard on your roster, you can't Ben Simmons him and have him sit out, or John Wall him and ice him while you try and figure out a trade, because it hurts the, what's the language? The integrity of the game as per the new rule, right?
Right. So I wonder if they could agree for him to go home. I don't think they could sit him out if he's healthy. And Dame is not, I don't think Dame would go home, right? He would show up and say, I want to play. And if I'm here, I need to play 35 minutes, because that's the integrity of the game. And then it gets dicey. And I think that's part of it. They don't want to be in a situation where every day they have to talk about, well, yeah, Dame has to play even though he doesn't want to be here. They don't want to go down that path. And I feel like they've known that these last 2 weeks they could get a deal done. And now that we've got the last 2 weeks before training camp, there are tons of reports out there that the Blazers are actively shopping Damian Lillard. And while the rest of the team is at the practice facility doing what they do, going to the Ducks game to see them take down Prime in Autzen Stadium, Damian Lillard's at home playing with his kids and working out on his own basketball court. He is not with the team. This is, these are the breakup is on, and I think it's going to be, and I feel more confident than I have felt recently that this is going to be taken care of in the next 4 or 5 days.
Where will Damian Lillard ultimately be sent off to if he's dealt by the end of this week? Where will he conduct his media day interview? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Blazers. Mike, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
It's going to be Miami. Okay, bye.